Now, I was driving to work this morning. I was like, hey, who am I interviewing today? And then I remembered, and it put a smile on my face because we're just talking happiness hacks. And I love talking with this great woman. Welcome back, Julia Grace.
Morena.
Morena,
Lovely to be with you.
You too. Now, congratulations to start with. You won a global award over the weekend. Tell us about that.
Thank you so much. I was nominated for a Global Women's Award in the area of education and advocacy in my work in mental health. And there was over 100 women in 28 different countries were represented in the awards, and I was the winner in my category. So very, very exciting and a very proud moment. And I even have a special medal that I will. Someone said to me, now I look like a rapper because I've got a big medal on. Bling. So I was like, oh, maybe I can just bling it up. But actually really exciting to be able to connect with women around the world who are doing some amazing work in their different communities and in the sustainability space and in the education space, and those who are really making a difference.
And I mean, you and I, we're talking over Zoom right now, and I presume, did you attend the awards via Zoom or something like that?
Yeah, so it was an event that was started at 4 a.m. So I was up at 3:30 straightening my hair. The joys of doing international things, of course, New Zealand, we're always out of the time zone. So they go, look, we've made it really easy for just about everyone except New Zealand.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we're always the ones that are either getting up really, really early or really, really late. But I try and just shine very bright lights in my eyes to keep me awake, and that's worked so far.
Yeah. Hey, look, girlfriend, now that you've got this more of a global connection and you've been recognised globally, you're probably going to have to get a little bit used to those funny hours.
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll. But look, I think we're a nice time here, 10:30 in the morning, nothing too terrible. But today I wanted to talk with you about something you call filling in your frontal lobes. A happiness hack. Tell us, what does that mean, Julia?
Well, when stressed out brains are offline, I use this term, stressed out brains are offline brains. We've talked about that in the past. When brains are under pressure, the part of our brain that does good problem solving literally goes offline. So just when we need it to help us to, solve the issue that's sitting right in front of us, our bodies and brains are literally designed to go into self-preservation mode. So our ability to do deep thinking, clear problem solving, time management, all those sort of normal everyday things is really deeply impaired. And so what often happens is when we have somebody in our world who's under a lot of pressure, what we can do is be a fill-in frontal lobe. So the frontal lobe talks about that part of the brain that goes offline. Yeah. And the fill-in frontal lobe is the person who comes and goes, look, normally I would not be perhaps finishing the end of your sentence or helping you with your calendar because that would feel like I was being a bit over the top. But under these circumstances, sometimes that's the best thing, the kindest, most practical thing that we can do. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, it does. And I think how many times we've possibly beating ourselves up because we'll be in a position and we'll think, oh, why can't I think? And then that can create stress and anxiety, can't it? By then putting that self-judgment on yourself, can't it?
Well, that's a spiral, right? So our brain will prioritize safety over anything. So if you've got a email to write or a task to really, get your teeth into and you're under that pressure, your brain will be more interested in simply keeping you alive because it feels like it's under threat. So it's going to send information away from that problem-solving area and into the part that says, hey, Lizzie, run, just get out of here. You'd be much safer. So often when those things happen, the logical side of us says things like, what a muppet. I should be able to, I should, and I normally I'd be able to do this. Normally I wouldn't be. I say, lose my keys, lose the plot. Normally I wouldn't be doing those things. But under pressure, it actually makes perfect sense. So what can happen is that when we are supporting somebody in that space, it can feel like the support we're doing feels so super simple.
Yeah.
So feel a little bit almost patronizing, to be like, hey, could we sit down and maybe look at your calendar for the week and just check that you've got the things in that need to be done, that you're not going to be late turning up for meetings or letting people down and making things worse for yourself.
Yeah.
Because often when we let stuff go, it can actually become worse, because then you've got to miss out the meeting, and then you've got to apologize for missing the meeting, and then you feel like a real muppet because you missed the meeting, right? So supporting somebody in that space, being a fill-in frontal lobe, means being probably more of a simple support than you would be under normal circumstances, but not feeling like you are imposing on them. Actually, what you're doing is the right thing.
Yeah, I've got a friend actually who I historically remember her sort of doing this, where it was almost like her brain would time out, and she would, I mean, we all get that to some degree, but I used to feel she got it quite a lot. And then I've started recognizing that when that happens, it is just a simple solution. So I might just find that word that she's looking for, and then she'll just go thanks and carry on telling the story. And then it sort of takes the stress out of it for them. It takes the confusion out of it for you, and you're just giving a simple help. And I guess for me, to start with, I used to think, I don't want to sort of try and take over here. But really, you're just stepping alongside somebody. And in a way, it's like you're holding their hand, aren't you, and stepping over the puddle with them, so to speak, where everything's kind of gone a little bit mushy, and you're filling it in for them so that they can carry on walking along the road, so to speak.
And if the challenge they had was purely physical, or something physical that you can see, you wouldn't hesitate, right? You wouldn't hesitate. If you had a friend who had crutches and was stumbling around and had their leg broken, you would be opening the door, and at no point would they be going, oh my gosh, Lizzie, I can do it myself. They would just be going, thank you. This was tricky. Thank you for stepping in. And when it comes to our mental health, it's actually exactly the same. But unfortunately, because we can't see it, it means it can feel a little bit over the top at times. So it's almost just like opening the car door for a friend who's got a physical injury. You're just providing that extra support for somebody who's dealing with stress and pressure. Doesn't necessarily mean they have a big mental health challenge.
No.
It just means that their stressed out brain it's gone offline. And trust me, they will get a chance to do it back to you. We think, I don't want to help because I don't want to be over the top. The day will come when you're under pressure and you forget the word and you, lose the plot, and they will then have a chance to step in and be the fill-in frontal lobe for you. So for me, if I'm having a high anxiety spike or a depressive dip, stepping in for me can really help by helping me with problem solving, can help with maybe some time management, like you said, communication. If I'm just struggling to stay on top of normal things, it can simply be those very, very practical, hey, should we sit down together and let's look at that? Use the word let's look at that together. Let's do this together, rather than, have you missed anything this week, or, in an accusing way.
Yeah, that's so good. As you always say, it's all about being kind to your mind, isn't it?
Absolutely. And to the mind of others.
Amen to that. So if you want to follow Julia Grace on socials, make sure you do. She always pops up really interesting things that I then go back to her and say, hey, let's do an interview about that. So it's a double whammy. Also, her website, juliagrace.co.nz. Look forward to catching up with you next time, Julia.
Well, thanks, Lizzie.